2020 has been a breakout year for African basketball players in general and players of Nigerian descent in particular. The reigning most valuable player in the NBA is Giannis Antetokoumpo of the Milwaukee Bucks, a son of immigrant Nigerian parents from Greece. But the incoming newly drafted class of 2020 includes at least 8 players from Nigeria and of Nigerian descent. Amadou Fall, president of the Basketball Africa League, is now joining us on the line. Amadou, thank you so much for your time. This is, of course, massive news for Nigeria, but also for the African continent as a whole.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Certainly it is. I think it's a long tradition in Nigeria with basketball. They have, one of the greatest to ever play our game and in our league, Hakeem Olajuwon. So that certainly has inspired a lot of people to pick up the basketball. And we're very proud and excited about the future because I think this is going to be a trend to stay for years to come because of all the activities that we've been doing on the ground in partnership with FIBA since the first Basketball Without Borders in 2003 that was launched here in Johannesburg.
But what we saw last week, how much of that do we credit to having heroes in the NBA currently, like Giannis Antetokoumpo, like Victor Oladipo, Pascal Siakam, Serge Ibaka, and the likes?
Just like with anything else in life, it's always, it serves the purpose to have people who've pioneered, who've, walked in those shoes. And Hakeem, the greatest of all of them, certainly Giannis is a global superstar. Now you see other young players like Joel Embiid in Philadelphia or Pascal Siakam winning the NBA title last year with Masai Ujiri from Nigeria, who's the president of that club, winning the first championship outside of the US, Toronto being based in Canada. So I think, people, young people emulate, what they know and what they see. So certainly basketball is number 2 sport around the world, and it's the number 2 sport on the continent too. So those pioneers who paved the way continue to inspire this next generation.
All right, you mentioned Basketball Without Borders, which has done a lot of groundwork in generating interest around the continent in as far as basketball is concerned. How far are we in making sure that it is spread in other parts of Africa and not just tilted towards West Africa? We see players that I mentioned, certainly Nigeria is very strong in there. Serge Ibaka is of the DRC descent, and also the likes of Cameroonian Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, we've seen a steady improvement in terms of just the popularity of the sport and also performances on the court. I just got back on Tuesday from Kigali, where FIBA hosted the qualifiers for the 2021 AfroBasket. It was great to be in a gym for the first time in nearly a year to watch live basketball. 12 national teams who were there competing, really great energy, high quality of basketball, although they played without fans. But it just shows, how far, we've come. And I've been seeing this as trend at the AfroBaskets, the improvement of the level of plays, and especially these players from Africa or of African descent who are coming back to play for their countries of origin is contributing to raising the level of basketball. But we have to keep and stay focused at grassroots level to work, introduce the game to young people, make it accessible for them. And I think numbers are going to continue to rise, not only of young African players playing in the NBA. And we're launching our Basketball Africa League across the continent to give opportunities to young players to stay on the continent, develop, grow, and make a living playing basketball.
Amadou, you did a lot of work with the now late Queen Mother of the Royal Bafokeng, Dr. Semane Bonolo Molotlehi, and we got the sad news just a couple of days ago. How big of a loss is this to junior basketball and the work that she's done overall?
It's a huge loss because Mama Polo was a real proponent and champion of really understanding how sport could be used as a tool to empower young people, boys and girls. We launched our Royal Bafokeng Sports Junior NBA program in 2011, and that program is really the blueprint that we've taken across the continent in our efforts to grow the sport. And Memokolo was really, really extremely helpful in terms of just, engaging with the communities. I remember having conversations with her where she was saying that parents need to come and see their kids and encourage them in playing the sport. And that happened, when we host our finals there in Pokeng. I mean, you're talking 10,000 people coming for a basketball game, a true celebration of the community. And she hasn't missed any. She was there every year. So we owe a huge debt of gratitude to her for her constant encouragement and for her belief, in basketball and sorry, for her belief in basketball and really what it can do to build communities. She was a true champion, and we miss her dearly. And our hearts go out to his family, Hosi Leroy Moratheti, and all his siblings.
And kids were always going to be encouraged, Amadou, to be a part of that, because there's some famous names also that you worked with in there. Care to share some of those?
In Pokeng, we've had a lot of legends and current players in the NBA and WNBA that we brought to as role model just to inspire this young generation. And she's met all of them. And I remember also we brought Kevin Hart there, to visit the program. He was extremely impressed. And we're sitting at lunch with Memo Holo and just the members of the family to see this person who is not in sport, but yet understand, and I'm talking about Kevin Hart, who was able to just exchange on how sports can be a real conduit, to building societies and definitely building youth. So, those are the kind of exchanges that we've been fortunate to have, those interaction with her. And that program is, really is going into its 11th year in 2021. Or actually 10th year in 2021. And again, she was a pivotal part of our growth and our development in the Royal Bafokeng Nation.
Amadou, 2020 has been a very difficult year for everyone, for every sporting code, and certainly basketball has also been affected. We saw the season being finished off in a bubble in Orlando in the NBA, but in Africa, we are used to annual events that happen. We've had the NBA Africa game here in South Africa at the Dome for the last couple of years. That didn't happen. What sort of 2021 can we look forward to with that eye on generating interest, first of all, on young kids here in the African continent?
Yeah, so we see the interest really continuing to rise across the continent. And, obviously you mentioned the Nigerian players being drafted in the NBA, but the game is growing across the continent in many countries where I believe talent is everywhere. Yes, talking about the pandemic and how it impacted sports in general, and we were not immune. So we were set to launch our Basketball Africa League inaugural season in March in Senegal, but we were probably the first, major sporting event to decide to delay to delay the event. We're continuing to plan. We're very excited about, what we can do in 2021 in partnership with FIBA. And being in Kigali last week and watching those AfroBasket qualifiers gives us even, more motivation to know that yes, the pandemic has hampered a lot of plans, but we got to keep pushing. And good news is, there is a thirst and hunger for sports programming, and we feel that, we will get back to, what we've always done. In terms of those games you talk about in the future, yes, I'm not sure about 2021, but we're definitely launching our Basketball Africa League in the first semester of 2021, bearing any, unforeseen development with the virus. We feel that, it's stabilizing in Africa, but obviously we cannot relax. We continue to encourage people to follow and adhere to all the health protocol so that, we can have this pandemic behind us.
All right. We'll be definitely looking forward to that, Amadou. But I'm going to put you on the spot now as I let you go. We saw the LA Lakers, for the first time in 10 years, go on to win the NBA championship. I know the season is yet to start. A lot of clubs are starting their training camps. But putting you on the spot, who are you looking at for this coming season? LeBron James' dominance continuing, or maybe one of our African stars coming to the fore this time around?
Well, certainly LeBron has shown at age, 35, that he's still performing at an elite level, and I don't expect that to change. They have a great team, some, big name, big players around LeBron, and I think they've made some transactions in the offseason that is going to even make them stronger. But there's a host of teams out there and that have great players, great talent. Yes, maybe I may have a bias for players with African players, but typically I try not to to pick a side. But we just want incredibly competitive games across our league, and just for our fans to enjoy. And we're glad that our footprint on the continent in terms of where fans can watch the game has grown. I mean, these playoffs, watching on ESPN, DStv, live games in the bubble have really had a huge impact across Africa in terms of just people following the game, following these players from Africa who are continuing to inspire more young players to play the game. So no particular favorite, but I'm looking forward to a great 2021 NBA season that is starting in December in a couple of weeks.
All right, Amadou Fall, thank you so much for your time and great work you are doing in growing the game of basketball across the African continent. He was chatting to us about the draft that took place last week. We saw as many as 8 players of Nigerian descent, a record that were selected by NBA teams. He's the president of the Africa Basketball League, talking to us this morning.